Hello, night traveler. This is Linus, your dreamweaver from Magical Nights. Snuggle up in your blanket and let your imagination run wild as we embark on enchanting paths of magical and fantastic tales. Tonight, we venture into the heart of Ireland's Green Hills, where the small village of Kilmarin holds an ancient secret. Eileen O'Sullivan, a lonely widow, discovers an ancient scroll that leads her on a magical and dangerous journey. With the help of Declan, the librarian, she faces ancient spirits, uncovers hidden mysteries, and challenges the very darkness. Ready to dream? The morning mist enveloped the small village of Kilmarin, nestled in the green hills of Ireland. The wheat fields swayed gently in the wind, and the bird songs filled the air with a soft melody. In the distance, the ancient stone circles, erected by hands long forgotten by time, could be seen, full of stories and secrets. These circles, formed by imposing monoliths, were shrouded in a mystery that fascinated and frightened the locals. Stories of enchanted beings and portals to other worlds circulated through the village, making the circles both sacred and feared. Kilmarin was a village where Celtic traditions were fervently maintained. Seasonal festivals, harvest rituals, and celebrations in honor of the ancient gods were events that united the community, bringing a sense of belonging and continuity. The Druids, respected for their wisdom and connection to the spiritual world, played a central role, guiding the rituals and preserving ancient knowledge. Eileen O'Sullivan, a 68-year-old widow and village resident, found comfort in her daily routines and the natural beauty surrounding her. Life in Kilmarin revolved around natural cycles and the beliefs that connected the villagers to the land and their ancestors. During the Samhain festival, for example, people lit large bonfires in the fields around the stone circles, believing that the fire warded off evil spirits and brought protection for the coming year. Children were taught from an early age to respect sacred places and listen to the elders' stories, thus perpetuating the region's rich cultural heritage. The hills surrounding the village were covered with lush vegetation, dense forests, and clear rivers that cut through the landscape. Nature seemed in perfect harmony, and the villagers believed that magical beings, such as fairies and elves, inhabited those hidden places. Wildflowers bloomed profusely, creating a spectacle of colors and aromas that enchanted all the senses. The fresh, pure air was impregnated with the scent of earth and plants, bringing a sense of renewal and well-being. Eileen spent hours walking through these hills, collecting herbs and flowers she used to make her home remedies and teas. She knew every trail, every tree, and every stone, feeling a deep connection to the land around her. Her walks were moments of reflection and communion with nature, where she could feel the presence of ancient Celtic spirits and the wisdom emanating from the stone circles. The loneliness that accompanied her in her cabin disappeared when she was outdoors, immersed in the environment's beauty and serenity. Eileen O'Sullivan lived alone in a modest stone cabin on the edge of the village. Widowed for many years, she found solace in her daily routines. Every morning, Eileen fed her chickens, picked herbs in her garden, and prepared a chamomile tea, always followed by a long walk through the fields. Loneliness was her constant companion, but in her heart, there was still a silent spark of hope. She had felt an inexplicable attraction to the stone circles since she was a child, when her grandmother told her stories about the ancient gods and magical beings that inhabited those sacred places. At 68, Eileen had gray hair, bright green eyes, and skin marked by time, but she still carried an aura of strength and serenity. Her hands, calloused from working in the garden, moved delicately as she tended to her plants and prepared her infusions. She was a respected figure in the village, known for her knowledge of herbs and natural remedies, and many villagers came to her cabin seeking advice and cures. Eileen had a simple life, but one full of meaning. Her memories with her late husband, Liam, were a constant comfort. He had been a fisherman, and together they built a life based on love and mutual respect. His absence left a void that could never be filled, but the memories of their happy days together were like a balm for her soul. Liam had taught her to appreciate the small things in life, and that lesson remained alive in her heart. Despite her loneliness, Eileen never felt completely alone. She believed that the spirits of her ancestors accompanied her, guiding her steps and protecting her from harm. At night, she lit candles in their honor, murmuring prayers of gratitude and asking for their blessing. The stories her grandmother told about the ancient Celtic gods and heroes were a constant source of inspiration and strength, reminding her that she was part of a long line of brave and resilient people. Eileen's cabin was a reflection of her personality, simple but full of charm. The stone walls were decorated with colorful tapestries and hanging dried herbs, exuding a comforting aroma. In the center of the room, a fireplace kept the space warm during cold months, and the soft candlelight created a cozy atmosphere. Ancient books on herbal medicine and Celtic mythology filled the shelves, evidencing her passion for knowledge and tradition. One morning, while picking wildflowers near the circles, Eileen found a small wooden box, partially buried in the soil. Carefully, she unearthed it and took it home. Sitting at her kitchen table, she opened the box and found an aged scroll inside. As she unrolled it, she saw it was written in ancient Gaelic, a language she barely knew. Curious and intrigued, Eileen decided to visit the town library to translate the scroll. At the library, she met Declan, the librarian, a middle-aged man with a passion for history and mythology. Together, they began to unravel the mystery of the ancient words. "This scroll talks about a ritual," said Declan, his eyes shining with excitement. "A ritual that must be performed at the stone circles to reveal a great secret. But there is a warning: only those with a pure heart and a deep connection to the land can perform the ritual." Eileen felt a shiver run down her spine. She had always felt a special connection to those circles, something she couldn't explain. Could she be the one chosen to uncover this mystery? That night, lying in her bed, Eileen couldn't stop thinking about the scroll and what it might mean. Something in her heart told her to move forward, to discover the secret the stone circles had held for so long. She knew that her life, marked by routine and loneliness, was about to change forever. The next morning, Eileen woke with renewed determination. The sky was overcast as she approached the stone circles. The wind whispered among the ancient stones as if telling forgotten stories. She carried the scroll with her, now fully translated thanks to Declan's help. The instructions were clear, but the execution seemed complex and dangerous. Eileen placed a small candle in the circle's center, as instructed, and lit it with trembling hands. The flame flickered for a moment before stabilizing. Around the candle, she scattered sacred flowers and herbs she had picked the day before. Then, she began to recite the words in ancient Gaelic, feeling a strange energy flow through her body. Suddenly, the ground began to tremble slightly, and a faint glow emanated from the stones. Eileen continued to recite, her voice gaining strength as the energy increased. But then, something unexpected happened. The glow from the stones intensified, turning into a blinding light that enveloped the entire circle. Eileen was thrown back by the force of the light and fell to the ground. When she opened her eyes, she saw a figure emerging from the glow. It was a tall, ethereal woman dressed in a white cloak that seemed to shine with its own light. Her eyes were deep and wise, filled with ancient knowledge. "I am Ain, the guardian of the circles," said the figure, her voice echoing like soft thunder. "You have awakened the ancient magic, Eileen O'Sullivan. But with that, you have also awakened a great danger." Eileen, still dazed, got up with difficulty. "What danger? What have I done?" she asked, her voice trembling. Ain looked at her with compassion. "The stone circles were created to protect this world from an evil force trying to cross into our plane. By performing the ritual, you weaken the barrier that protects us. Now, an ancient darkness may be breaking free." Despair and frustration filled Eileen. She had only followed the scroll's instructions, unaware that she was putting everyone in danger. "What must I do to fix this?" she asked, determination beginning to replace fear. Ain smiled gently. "There is hope. To reinforce the barrier, you must find 3 sacred artifacts hidden in different places in Ireland. Each is guarded by an ancient spirit and can only be obtained by someone with a pure heart." Eileen took a deep breath, absorbing the magnitude of the task ahead. "I will do whatever it takes," she said, determination shining in her eyes. "Where do I start?" "First, go to Lake Lochgar," Ain replied. "There, you will find the first artifact. But be prepared, Eileen. The challenges will be great, and the darkness will be after you every step of the way." With those words, Ain disappeared, leaving Eileen alone in the stone circle. The glow in the stones faded until it disappeared completely, and silence returned. Eileen knew she couldn't waste time. She quickly returned home, gathered some provisions, and set off toward Lake Lochgar. The journey to Lake Lochgar was exhausting. Eileen felt each step weigh on her, but determination and renewed hope kept her moving. Upon arrival, she was greeted by a stunning sight. The lake reflected the gray sky like a mirror, surrounded by green hills and ancient trees. Following Ain's instructions, Eileen began to look for signs of the sacred artifact. She remembered the stories her grandmother told about the lake, mentioning that it was inhabited by ancient and mysterious spirits. She didn't know exactly where to look, but something guided her to the lake's eastern shore. As she walked along the shore, Eileen saw a small cave partially hidden by bushes. The entrance looked dark and intimidating, but she knew she had to investigate. With a lantern in hand, she entered the cave, feeling the moisture and cold envelop her body. Inside the cave, she found ancient carvings on the walls depicting mythical figures and Celtic symbols. At the back, there was a stone altar on which rested a shining object bathed in a soft light. Eileen approached cautiously, recognizing the first artifact, a necklace with a green crystal amulet shimmering in the lantern light. As she picked up the necklace, a strong wind swept through the cave, extinguishing Eileen's lantern. In the darkness, she heard a soft, melodious voice. "Who dares to disturb my sanctuary?" A beautiful woman appeared before her, with long, flowing hair and eyes that shone like stars. It was Cleanna, the queen of the banshees. "I am Eileen O'Sullivan," she replied, her voice trembling. "I come seeking the sacred artifacts to restore the magical barrier and protect our world from darkness." Cleanna observed her for a moment before speaking again. "You have courage, Eileen. But courage alone is not enough. To take the necklace, you must prove your purity and strength of spirit. Face your deepest fears and show that you are worthy." Before Eileen could respond, she was enveloped by a thick mist. When the mist cleared, she found herself back in her childhood, in a scene she would never forget, the day her father died. She had always carried the guilt of not being able to help him in time. The fear and pain of that memory threatened to overwhelm her, but she knew she had to face this trial. Eileen knelt beside her father's bed, holding his cold hand. "I'm sorry, Dad," she whispered. "But I did the best I could. I need to forgive myself and move on." As she spoke, she felt a weight lift from her shoulders. Her father's figure smiled at her, and the scene began to fade. Back in the cave, Cleanna smiled at Eileen. "You passed the test. You may take the necklace. But remember, the journey is just beginning. You will face many more challenges before this mission ends." With the necklace in hand, Eileen left the cave and returned to daylight. Her heart was full of renewed hope and a burning curiosity for what would come next. She knew the next artifact awaited and that she would need all her courage and determination to find it. As she prepared to leave for the next destination, Eileen noticed something strange. The mist around the lake was denser than before, and a dark figure watched her from afar. She felt a chill run down her spine. The darkness Ain had mentioned was approaching, and she needed to be ready for what lay ahead. Eileen felt a new vigor as she crossed the stunning landscapes of Ireland towards her next destination, the forest of Tir na Nog, a mythical place known as the Land of Eternal Youth. According to Ain, the second sacred artifact was hidden deep within this enchanted forest. The journey to the forest was long and filled with challenges. Eileen faced torrential rains, rugged terrains, and cold nights, but nothing shook her determination. Finally, after days of travel, she reached the forest's entrance. The trees were tall and ancient, with leaves that shone emerald under the sun. As soon as Eileen entered the forest, a sense of peace enveloped her. The air was scented with wildflowers, and bird songs echoed softly. She followed a narrow path, guided by an inexplicable intuition, which led her to a small lake in the forest's center. At the lake, Eileen saw a small island covered in flowers, and in its middle, a stone pedestal with a golden chalice. This was the second artifact. As Eileen tried to find a way to cross the lake, a soft voice called to her. "Welcome, Eileen," said the voice. A figure emerged from the water, a woman of ethereal beauty with long, golden hair that floated like waves. It was Niamh, the queen of Tir na Nog. "I am Niamh," she said, smiling gently. "You seek the chalice of youth, but to obtain it, you must show your true heart." Eileen looked at Niamh, feeling a mix of nervousness and respect. "I am here to protect my world from darkness. I will do whatever it takes." Niamh nodded. "Then, you must face the final challenge. Look into the lake and see the reflection of your soul." Eileen approached the lake's edge and looked into the clear water. To her surprise, the image reflected was not just of herself, but of all the people she loved and who had shaped her life. She saw her parents, friends, and even Ain, the guardian who had guided her. The lake began to glow, and a sense of love and gratitude enveloped her. Eileen felt tears streaming down her face as she remembered every moment, every sacrifice, and every act of kindness that had brought her here. She realized that her strength came from her connections with others, and that love was the true key to overcoming darkness. "Your heart is pure, Eileen," said Niamh, her voice full of emotion. "The chalice is yours. Use it wisely." Eileen crossed the lake in a small boat that magically appeared and picked up the golden chalice. She felt a wave of relief and gratitude as she held it. When she returned to the shore, Niamh awaited her. "You now possess 2 of the 3 artifacts," said Niamh. "But the journey is not over. The last artifact is guarded on Mount Sleep Donnet. There, you will face the greatest challenge of all." Eileen thanked Niamh and prepared to leave. But before she left, Niamh gave her a golden flower. "Keep this, Eileen. This flower has the power to heal and protect. You may need it at the end of your journey." With the chalice in hand and the flower carefully kept, Eileen left the forest of Tir na Nog with a renewed heart. She knew the greatest challenge was yet to come, but she also knew she was not alone. The love and gratitude she felt for those who helped her strengthened her, and she was ready to face any obstacle to save her world. Eileen walked determinedly towards Mount Sleep Donnet. The last stage of her journey awaited her, and with it, the greatest challenge of all. The path to the mountain was steep and treacherous, but she knew she couldn't give up. She carried the necklace and the chalice, knowing that these artifacts were essential to restore the magical barrier. As she climbed the mountain, Eileen felt a familiar presence. Looking around, she saw Declan, the librarian, emerging from a side trail. "Eileen," he called, running to catch up with her. "I've been looking for you. Something terrible has happened in the village." Eileen's heart tightened. "What happened, Declan?" "The darkness Ain mentioned has begun to manifest," Declan explained, breathless. "Shadowy figures are appearing, terrorizing the villagers. "We need you to finish this mission." Eileen took a deep breath, feeling a mix of fear and determination. "We're close to the end, Declan. The last artifact is here on the mountain. Let's go together." The two continued to climb the mountain, facing strong winds and rugged terrain. The presence of darkness seemed more intense with each step, but Declan's presence gave Eileen a sense of support and courage. Finally, they reached a cave on the mountain slope. Inside, a soft light emanated from a stone pedestal where an ancient sword rested, the third and final artifact. As Eileen approached to take the sword, a shadowy figure emerged from the darkness. "I am Baylor, the ancient guardian of darkness," said the figure, its eyes glowing like embers. "You will never leave here with the sword." Eileen felt fear grip her heart, but Declan's presence beside her gave her strength. "We are here to protect our world," she said, firmly holding the necklace and the chalice. "You will not stop us." Baylor laughed, a deep and menacing sound. "Do you think you can face me, mortal? You do not have enough power to defeat me." At that moment, Declan stepped forward. "Maybe not alone," he said, with a determination Eileen had never seen before. "But together, we have a chance." Eileen felt a wave of gratitude and love for Declan. With the golden flower given by Nev, she touched the sword, which began to shine intensely. The light from the sword, combined with the power of the necklace and the chalice, began to push Baylor back. Baylor struggled against the light but was slowly consumed by it. "This is not the end," he roared before completely disappearing. "Darkness always finds a way." With Baylor defeated, Eileen and Declan took the sword and left the cave. The path back to the village seemed less arduous, and both felt renewed hope. When they arrived in Kilmarin, the villagers were gathered, scared and confused. Eileen stepped forward and explained the situation. "We need to perform one final ritual in the stone circles to restore the barrier and protect our village forever." With Declan's and the villagers' help, Eileen returned to the stone circles. With the necklace around her neck, the chalice in one hand, and the sword in the other, she began to recite the scroll's words. The magical energy flowed through her, and the stones began to glow intensely. Suddenly, a familiar figure appeared. It was Ain, the guardian. "You have done well, Eileen," she said. "But there is one last thing you need to know." Eileen looked at Ain, surprised. "What is it?" Ain smiled softly. "The true guardian of the circles is not me, Eileen. It is you. It has always been you. Your pure heart and connection to the land have made you the chosen one to protect this world." The revelation took Eileen by surprise, but also brought deep relief. She finally understood her purpose. With gratitude and love, she completed the ritual, and the magical barrier was restored. The village of Kilmarin was safe again, and the villagers cheered for Eileen's bravery and determination. As the sun set, Eileen felt a profound peace in her heart. She had faced her fears, overcome impossible challenges, and discovered her true role in the world. With the ritual complete and the magical barrier restored, the village of Kilmarin breathed a sigh of relief. The villagers, who once lived in fear of the darkness, now felt protected and at peace. Eileen had become a figure of respect and reverence, known not just as the lonely widow but as the guardian of the stone circles. Eileen returned to her cabin, feeling a serenity she had never experienced before. The nights, once lonely and cold, were now filled with the warmth of the villagers' gratitude and the stars' brilliance that seemed brighter. The necklace, chalice, and sword were kept in a safe place, ready to be used again if necessary. One morning, while tending to her garden, Eileen was visited by Declan. He brought a basket of fresh fruit and a warm smile. "I brought something for you, Eileen," he said, extending the basket. "Thank you, Declan," she replied, smiling. "Come in, let's have some tea." The two sat at the kitchen table, talking about recent events and how the village was flourishing again. Declan, with his passion for history and mythology, was writing a book about Eileen's adventures so that future generations would know the courage and sacrifice of the Guardian. "Eileen," said Declan, looking into her eyes, "you have changed all our lives. And, personally, I want to say how much I admire your strength and determination." Eileen felt warmth in her heart. "I couldn't have done this without you, Declan. Your friendship and support meant a lot to me." As they drank tea, Eileen felt a new hope blooming inside her. She was no longer alone. Declan was more than a friend, he was a soulmate, someone who shared her values and dreams. Days turned into weeks, and peace reigned in Kilmarin. The village thrived, and the villagers lived with a new sense of purpose and unity. Eileen and Declan worked together to protect the stone circles and teach the children about the importance of their cultural heritage. One sunny afternoon, the village organized a great celebration in Eileen's honor. All the villagers gathered around the stone circles, decorated with flowers and colorful ribbons. Children ran and played, while the adults chatted happily. Ain appeared one last time, visible only to Eileen and Declan. "You have done well," she said, her voice soft and full of pride. "The protection you established here is strong. Continue to care for this place and each other." Eileen and Declan nodded, feeling a deep peace. Ain slowly disappeared, leaving a sense of contentment. As the sun set, Eileen looked at the stone circles and reflected on her journey. The fear and loneliness that once haunted her had been replaced by love, gratitude, and a deep sense of belonging. She knew that, regardless of future challenges, she would never be alone. Declan approached, holding her hand. "Let's go home, Eileen. We have a dinner waiting for us." Eileen smiled, feeling the warmth of Declan's hand in hers. "Yes, let's go," she replied. As they walked back to the village together, Eileen felt a serene joy fill her heart. She had found her place in the world and knew the future would be bright and full of possibilities. Days passed peacefully in Kilmarin, but Eileen felt a growing unease in her heart. Despite the apparent peace, something in the air suggested that the darkness had not been completely defeated. She continued her daily rituals, strengthening the stone circles and maintaining the connection with the ancestral spirits. One night, as Eileen watched the stars in the clear sky, she felt an unexpected chill. A shadow quickly passed through the village, and a low murmur reached her ears. The voices of the ancient spirits whispered a warning: the darkness still lives. Prepare yourself. Eileen knew that the real battle was yet to come. She gathered the villagers and shared her concerns. "We must stay vigilant. The darkness has not been completely defeated. We must prepare for what is coming." Declan and the other villagers agreed. Together, they began to reinforce the village's defenses, erecting barriers and practicing ancient protection rituals. Everyone was determined to protect Kilmarin from any threat. On a full moon night, the darkness finally revealed itself. Shadowy figures emerged from the shadows, led by a powerful and malevolent entity emanating pure darkness. It was Baylor, who had managed to return, stronger and determined to destroy what remained of light. Eileen, with the necklace around her neck, the chalice in her hands, and the sword ready, led the villagers in a desperate battle. The darkness seemed impenetrable, and Baylor laughed, confident in his victory. "Did you really think you could stop me forever?" he mocked. "I am eternal darkness." The battle was fierce, with every blow and spell cast in a desperate fight to protect Kilmarin. But no matter how hard they fought, the darkness continued to advance. Baylor seemed invincible, and despair began to take hold of the defenders' hearts. Then, something unexpected happened. The golden flower that Neith had given to Eileen began to shine intensely. The light emanating from the flower grew, enveloping Eileen and the villagers, strengthening their defenses and filling them with new hope. Eileen realized that the flower was the key to defeating Balor once and for all. Raising the flower, Eileen recited an ancient protection prayer, channeling the flower's energy through the necklace, chalice, and sword. The flower's light merged with the artifacts, creating a wave of pure energy that advanced towards Balor. The combined power of the artifacts and the flower was immense, and Balor's darkness began to dissipate. Balor roared with anger and pain as the light consumed him. "This is not possible. I am eternal." But the light continued to grow, fueled by Eileen and the villagers' love and hope. Finally, with a last cry of despair, Balor was completely obliterated and the darkness disappeared. The village of Kilmarin was safe, and the light emanating from the stone circles was brighter than ever. The villagers cheered and celebrated, grateful for Eileen's bravery and sacrifice. She had led the battle and protected her home, proving to be the true guardian of the stone circles. With Balor finally defeated, peace reigned in Kilmarin. The hills, forests, and rivers around the village seemed more alive, and the connection between the villagers and the land was stronger than ever. Eileen's courage and determination had ensured a bright future for everyone. Eileen returned to her daily routine, but with a new sense of purpose. She continued to tend her garden, prepare her remedies, and perform protection rituals, but now with the certainty that she was fulfilling her destiny. The villagers frequently visited her, bringing gifts and words of gratitude. Declan, now a close friend and constant companion, was always by her side. Together, they documented the village's stories and legends, ensuring that the ancient knowledge and wisdom were preserved for future generations. They also worked to teach the village children about the importance of the stone circles and protecting the natural world. One peaceful night, as Eileen and Declan watched the stars, she reflected on her journey. "I never imagined my life would take this turn," she said, with a serene smile. "But now I see that everything I lived prepared me for this moment." Declan held Eileen's hand, his gaze full of admiration. "You are an inspiration to all of us, Eileen. Your strength and courage will guide us for many years." Eileen felt a profound peace in her heart. "We are all part of something greater, Declan. And as long as we stay united and in harmony with the land, we can face any challenge." As the moon illuminated the stone circles, Eileen knew she had found her place in the world. She was the guardian of Kilmarin, protector of ancient secrets, and defender of the light. And with Declan by her side, she was ready to face any future that lay ahead. And so, the story of Eileen O'Sullivan, the guardian of the stone circles, became a legend in Kilmarin. Her bravery and wisdom were passed down from generation to generation, inspiring all to protect and honor the Celtic heritage and the land they called home. Eileen had discovered that, in the heart of darkness, there is always a light waiting to be ignited, and that love and hope are the keys to overcoming any adversity. Kilmarin thrived under the protection of the stone circles and the guardian who had found her true purpose. Eileen lived the rest of her days in peace and contentment, knowing she had fulfilled her mission and left a legacy that would endure for generations. The story of the enchanted stone circles and their brave guardian continued to be told, reminding everyone that true strength comes from the heart and soul. Good night and enchanted dreams.